Delighted to welcome Elad Ben Elul back to our Alshech Academy, and you have just written this booklet, To Win a War, and this is the book that we're going to be talking about. Would you just remind us what it is, what motivated you to write this book?
So I wrote a book with Rabbi Manis Friedman based on his lessons to Israelis. It was kind of making his lessons available. It's what we spoke about last time, and it was a success. And we also do regular Zoom lessons. And after October 7th, we did lots of Zoom lessons, and a lot of people used to come in. We had like 200 people in the Zoom, and the Rabbi Manis was really explaining the spiritual side of the political and military and global occurrences, and it was very powerful stuff. Clear, reasonable, kind of basic knowledge, but that's the thing, sometimes we don't even have the basic knowledge. And then his son, actually, a few weeks after, he told me that American Jews and Jews in England, they're in a kind of an awkward situation because there's so much hatred and anti-Semitism, and there's so much blame towards them, and they don't really know what to respond, and they don't really have the tools and the language to explain their side. So why not take the knowledge that we are describing in the lessons and create some sort of guide for the perplexed, something to help them throughout this time, how to cope with anti-Semitism, what is Israel, what is Palestine, the most basic questions. So we set like pretty intensely. I just interviewed him, asked him a few questions, created like a structure that I would imagine would be a good background and the most important tools that one should have. And we published the book very quickly.
When did you publish it?
It was really about 3 months after the war broke. So it was written during the war, and it was published during the war, and it was really quickly, went on #1 on Amazon, on Kabbalah and Mystic Books. Was #1.
Amazing.
Which was a surprise. It was good, and Israelis then said, we want it as well. So I started translating. When I translated, I was actually a bit like worried, because suddenly putting it in Hebrew it sounded very intense. In Israel, everything is intense. Everything is politically loaded and socially inflammable, and suddenly I can't say that. For English Americans, it was fine. It sounded like also really academic, the language, it's fine, but when you write it in Hebrew, it becomes too real. So then I realized this is powerful stuff, actually. I kind of expanded a bit more and lightened it a bit more and made sure that nothing is misunderstood, so the Hebrew book is even more kind of like enhanced. I also gave a few people to read it, even from center left, to people to make sure that it goes through their throat, and the reactions were really good. And then we published the Hebrew book just now, when Rabbi Manis was in Israel now last week, so we published that book, that Hebrew booklet.
Amazing. So let's go straight into it, because there's so much to discuss here. And you've got some great questions at the beginning, and I'd like to start with the first one. What is Israel's divine purpose? Tell us a little bit about what you've learned of our purpose here.
So, for me, growing up in a secular Zionist education system, I was always told that the main purpose of Israel is just to shelter us from hatred and violence. The main purpose is to just protect us from the hatred of the world. But as you begin to learn Torah, and especially Chassidus, because not that Chassidus brings anything new, but it's about what it put the focus on. You realize that the land of Israel, the state of Israel, has a role in the entire creation. Mamlechet Kohanim, Goy Kadosh. So the role of Israel is to really be a light for the nations, which means it's supposed to be a model for what society should look like and behave, like the perfect moral, ethical, spiritual, social model for how a state can be. And the idea is that eventually people will start to be so inspired by it that they will want to learn, how do you do this? And it's happening in a way.
Well, we see that in Korea. Korea wants to study Talmud because they see the success of Israel. It's quite amazing.
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of, alongside all the noise of the hatred, you can definitely see that people are kind of looking at us, especially Europe, regarding family and children and the relation to birth. And because in Europe, even in places that are more Mediterranean, like Italy, the children are not needed anymore. People don't want to have children, which shows some sort of despair from life itself, from existence itself.
Right.
And then they look at us and say, what is it about you that you love having kids, you love life, you love families, and it doesn't matter how difficult life is for you. It's not that you had the best life, it's not that it's the easiest to be a Jew, and yet you are always for life. So that's one example of how the curiosity awakes and they want to look at us and see what are we doing. So the role of Israel is to really become that model.
It's interesting that the recent survey on the happiest people in the world, amongst the youngest population, Israel came number 2. So that's pretty good.
Wow.
Okay, so let's talk about the point that I want to talk about is something that is a bit very difficult to understand from a Western point of view, and that is the nature of the Jewish soul, and why would a Jewish soul be any different from a non-Jewish soul? We're all Bnei Adam, we're all from the same source, so what is this idea that we are somehow different?
It is incredibly difficult to communicate it, you're right, and sometimes I have students that even after a year or two will still say something like, yes, but I can't think of myself as better than anyone else, different than anyone else, we all have the godly spark, we all have this, and it's really something that I don't think we would have been able to come up with ourselves, or if we would have announced it about ourselves and decide or claim this title, then it would be a sign that it's probably a mistake or some sort of narcissistic disorder.
Right.
But we're actually, the way we respond to it, most Jews is like, no, we're just like you.
We want to be like you.
Yeah. So that fact that we actually avoid it, I think shows that it's real. But the idea is that really, how do we define a Jew? Is a Jew someone who was born into Judaism? That can't be a definition because you can convert. Is a Jew a culture? There are many cultures within Judaism. Is it an ethnic group? Is it a race? Is it a religion? No, because you can be a Jew and be an atheist, and you're still 100% Jewish, not even less, not even 99% Jewish. So what is it? We really struggle to define it. So it's actually the spiritual definition that Hasidus brings, the Book of Tanya, the Baal Shem Tov brings, that gives us a much better clue that Jew has a different spiritual autonomy, because in addition to the soul that every person has, every human being has a soul, and a soul is godly, and a soul is a spark of godly life. A Jew has another extra soul, which is not part of creation. It wasn't created by God per se. It's not something that God spoke into existence. Rather, it is something that was always part of God. So it is not a creation, it is the Creator expressed within the creation. And that's very different. It's a whole different experience, a whole different purpose. So it is it is a part of God inside a group of people.
And this part was given to the Jewish soul because they were chosen. Is that the God chooses a group of people who He wants to bestow this extra soul to, and then it becomes hereditary?
So this is another thing that we have to understand about the choice of God. If we think about it that way, like it's just a choice out of a few options, it means that the choice can be, first of all, removed or changed, and second of all, that it is based on some sort of qualities or conditions or properties that the choice relies on. When we think about God and His choice, it's not like He has options and is limited to a few options. It's like, out of those options, I will choose. There's a midrash like this that He's asking all the people, and then, but that's afterwards. But a true choice is actually, it's not freedom of choice, rather it's the freedom from choice. So when you're not limited to any set of possibilities, it can be anything, anyone, whatever, and then this comes to be, it should be a sign that this is what is true. Truth, emet, is something that is not dependent on choice. It's just what is. God is the Jews, the Jewish soul. God is Torah. Torah is God. The Jewish soul is God. So this is just who I am. In a way, it's hard for us to understand because, like, what are you defining God? Are you portraying God in anything? But
and you're
again,
also saying that the Jewish people are God. You know, that's a very
the godly soul. But and the people of Israel. What the Zohar means is that really, essentially, deep inside, God is telling us, I am someone. The fact that I'm above all definition and above all illustration doesn't mean that I'm a statue without any description, without any, that you can't say anything about me, that I can't say anything about myself. I am a living God. And what I want to tell you about myself is that I am Torah, I am the Jews, this is what I love, this is who I am. And when you understand it this way, it becomes very real. It becomes like amazingly real.
So what did He choose the Jewish nation to become?
So when we say choose, it's a choice in a sense that I was not limited to anything, and so this is it. Because imagine if you could choose anything, you would probably be paralyzed. The fact that we choose things, it's almost because there's always something inclining us. I have to choose between this house or this house. Okay, which one is bigger? Which one is cheaper? So I'm not really choosing anything. A human choice is not really a choice. There's always something pushing us towards that choice or that choice. So are we choosing, or something is chosen for us? Whereas for God is a true choice. So a true choice means this is emet, this is true. I could have potentially done anything, so the fact that this is what I choose to express means this is the truest.
Okay, so now let's try to explain to us, what is this link between the chosen people, the Jews, and the land of Israel? Why is there such a strong link between the two?
So something really interesting Rabbi Manis brings in the book is that there's something very similar between Israel and the Jews. If you think about all the countries in the world, how did they become countries? How did they come to be states? They were conquered. So a person came, conquered the land, put the flag, and now this is France, now this is Germany, now this is Australia, and that's how a country is born. And yet with Israel we see that people come and they conquer it, and they conquer it, and they rename it, and it remains Israel. Years go by, and layers of history, and more empires, and they try to change it, and and it remains Israel. Every kid knows where is Israel, and what is Israel. That's Israel, of course, the land of Israel. So It's basic knowledge that just doesn't change. It's an essential thing. So how is it similar to the Jew? A Jew can replace his religion, or think he does, or can stop practicing his religion, or can abandon or think of other things and do other things, and yet he remains a Jew. So it's crazy because Judaism is not like any other religion. Any other religion, you can decide to be part of the religion. Now I believe in this faith, now I practice this religion, this is now what I am. Now I don't, I abandon this religion, that's it, I have nothing to do with it. I remember I was living in England and I thought that everyone's Christian, even the students in university who are not, for me it was like they're Christian, but no, we're not Christian. For them, it was easy, we're not Christian. In here, even the most, secular leftist Jew will say, I'm Jewish. He knows that he can't, it's an essential fact of life. Mm-hmm. So it's as if the holiness of the Jew and the holiness of Israel have something in common, which is the fact that it's an essential fact of life. It cannot be converted or changed. And again, it's because it's a choice, a true choice, that doesn't rely on conditions.
Right.
So
unconditional. It's an unconditional status.
Exactly. It's such a deep. It precedes creation. So right. Nothing in creation can really change it because creation serves that emet.
I understand. So let's go into the conflict, the Arab-Israeli conflict, and really, this is the part of the book that I really appreciated and loved more than anything else, is to really understand the conflict. You have to understand the origin of those trying to create that conflict. In other words, the origins of Christianity, which is Asa, and the origins of the Arab Islamic, which is Ishmael. Mm-hmm. And I think I'd like to invite you to just talk to us about the difference between those two and how their characteristics has changed over the millennium in their approach to Judaism.
Yes, so we see that the two ultimate enemies of the Jewish people throughout history are really Ishmael and Esau, the descendants of Ishmael and the descendants of Esau. But we also see that they have a different agenda or a different style of how they hate or how they express their hate. So with Esau, we see that really he didn't want to eliminate Yaakov or kill him or kill the Jews. Rather, it's about expressing power over him and showing himself and showing the world that he is the ruler. So Esau is a hunter, and what a hunter usually does is when he kills the deer, he will hang the head of the deer to show, because there's a lot of expression of power. In a way, if there are no more deers and the hunter cannot hunt anymore, he cannot show his power, so he depends on the deer. He needs the deer to be there so that he can show. So you see, for example, in the Titus Gate, they're carving and showing how they took the menorah and the treasures of the temple, that really exposing and exhibiting, that's the word, exhibiting their violence, their abuse. It's something that they want to show. And in many ways it shows that the Christian fantasy is not a fantasy of annihilation. They don't want to completely kill until Jews don't exist. Rather, they want to subvert the Jew and show that they are now the chosen, they are now the powerful, and the Jew is beneath them. So that's one style of hatred.
And it links with the bracha that Yitzchak gave Asa, that you will only rule over Yaakov when Yaakov is sort of misbehaving.
Yes, exactly.
So it's all to do with that conquer and power and influence. And it's interesting that the Vatican always had their 36 Jews that they kept safe and protected precisely for that reason, because they always wanted to retain an element of Judaism that was very important to them. So that's
wow.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like when one is up, one is down. So I want to be up, and that's how I express my power. With Ishmael, we see something else. We basically see a claim for Jewish identity that is much more total. It's complete. So basically, Ishmael says to Yitzchak, I'm the true inheritor of the land. I'm the true descendant of Abraham who should get the blessing, who should get the land. Because I am, first of all, the firstborn. So obviously I get the precedent, I'm the firstborn. I did...
But there's also, I want to just interject that the firstborn in Jewish law always got double what the others did. He's a Bechor. So he has something to his claim.
Yes. Yeah. And he did his Brit Milah in a much later age. He was 13, which means he did a bit of an Akedah. For him, in his mind, in the Midrash, he says, I did an Akedah because this was painful, it was out of choice, I really sacrificed myself for this. So he has claims that are beyond, it's claims that actually say, I am the right inheritor.
Right.
Also, the fact that he believes in one God, that he prays 3 times, 5 times even, the monotheism, the keeping the tradition of Abraham, if it's Achnasat Orchim, and kind of like really following that path is saying, I'm the son of Abraham and I should be getting the land.
Amazing.
But because he knows that actually this is not what happened, that he was banned and Sarah said that he cannot be taken any part in the inheritance, and Abraham had to listen to her, and that's what happened. So he's...
Not only that, but the Torah actually says that you will be inherited through Isaac.
Yes.
It says that.
Yes, and Sarah says, you will not inherit the land, lo irash ben ha'ama hazot, you're not who you think you are. You're the son of the slave who thinks he's the son of the king. So, no, and she's really like clear about that, and she kind of pushes him aside. And then he realizes that in order for him to receive the recognition he needs, Isaac needs to not exist. So as long as he exists, the inheritance will always go to Isaac and his descendants. So the hatred is about really completely eliminating and erasing from the face of the earth.
It's the only explanation that will explain why they could come out and be so barbaric to the babies, the Jewish babies, because for them the Jewish babies is a potential inheritor, and
exactly.
So he's as much a threat to them, to their position, as a mighty warrior. I mean, otherwise you can't explain it.
Because it's not a rational threat, like he's powerful, he's strong. So when you show, oh, we are powerful, we have the biggest army, we have the best weapons, this is not what scares us. As long as there's a single Jewish baby on earth, he is the inheritor, and we cannot allow that.
And that is why we see such passion in the whole parts of the world, which has nothing to do with Israel. You know, people in America who are advocating for a complete annihilation of Israel. From what? What have we done to them? Now we can understand a little bit about the source of what that is. But we're sitting here at the Alshech Shul, and I can't miss the opportunity to bring in some Alshech Torah, because he talks about the Akedah, when the story of the Akedah, and Abraham's walking up the mountain with Isaac and the two servants, Ishmael and his son, Ishmael his son, and Eliezer. And the phrase says, Avram looks and sees the pillar of cloud above, further up, and he says to the Eliezer and his servant, you two stay here with the donkey, and me and the boy, meaning Isaac, will go up to the mountain and do what we have to do. And the Alshech on that commentary says, "Shvu lachem po im hachamor." He says, he quotes a midrash, which is fascinating. He says that as they're walking up, Avram hears Ishmael saying to Eliezer, "Why didn't you kill Isaac? And then I'll inherit Abraham." So, of course, Avram says, the statement is, "Shavu lachem po im hachamor." You too will stay here with the donkey. Just as the donkey does not inherit his master when he passes away, you will never inherit.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's Alshech.
Alshech.
Really good.
So,
So what is it really that we should respond to them?
you know,
So, first thing is, instead of responding by saying, let's share, or the
Right.
UN has given us our part, or we were here before, we have an historical claim. All those, since 7th of October, the PR of Israel, it has been very developed because everyone got into the boat, and really talented people are investing lots of their brain power on explaining it. They're like really good, logical, historical, moral explanation why we are right, why this was wrong, facts, everything is they speak around the world, and none of this works because no one says the truth, which is God gave us the land and we are the inheritor of the land. It's scary to say, to sound like, oh, are you insane? I grew up in a university in Tel Aviv, the most, for me it's unbelievable, but if you are for truth, you have to speak truth, people will respond to it. So the first thing you have to say, we are the inheritor of the land. You know this is written in the Torah, explicitly. The Torah that you believe in, the God that you believe in, gave us the land. That's one thing. The second thing that we should say, you are not actually descendants of Ishmael, because you are mixed, completely mixed by now. So there is you may be ideological descendants of Ishmael, but you are not kept as direct descendants of Ishmael anymore. You're mixed with Ham, with Shem, with this, with that, with that. Everything is very, very mixed by now, so you don't have that biological claim that we have, because we have kept something much more strict and pure regarding our ideology. We bring in the book a situation where I think it was the 6-Day War, one of the Arab leaders was saying, you are not the real Jews, because look at you, you wear jeans, shorts, you eat unkosher food, so how can you claim to be the inheritor of Israel, that the biblical Jews, there's nothing in common between you and the biblical Jews. So I think the typical religious mind will be like, you see, this is what happens when Jews don't keep observance and they don't keep the mitzvahs, this is how they see us, because you wear those jeans, they don't give us Israel. The Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe's response was completely different to this. He said, we are Jews not because we keep mitzvahs, and not because of how we dress, and not because of how we behave. This relates to what we've spoken before. A biological inheritance, what defines inheritance is the fact that it doesn't depend. When a person receives his grandmother's flat in New York or in Tel Aviv, it's our inheritance. It doesn't depend on who he is in terms of how he behaves, if he's a good person, if he's a bad person, if he's smart, if he's that's not inheritance. That's salary. That's you earn it or something. This is not something we earn. This is something we are. And when you explain it this way, it puts something much deeper into their mind. It's not about us becoming religious. It's about who we are, who we've always been, and who we'll always be.
I have to inject another thought from the Alshech. As the planes are flying above, may Hashem protect them and protect us. But he says like this, the idea of merit. He says, when somebody passes away, the children inherit it, right? But they also inherit a debt. Like if the father passed away and left a debt, the child inherits that debt and he has to pay it back. So in the case of Judaism and Israel, it was only Yaakov Avinu who was prepared to take the debt of going into Mitzrayim. Esav ran up to the mountain of Edom. Ishmael was not around. It's only Yaakov who took that debt and went into Mitzrayim for 210 years, and was then, based on that merit, was able to retain and hold on to that inheritance because it comes together with the land.
Yes.
So I just wanted to interject that.
Nice.
But I wanted to just really bring you to what I feel is the most important conclusion of what we've just discussed about Esav and Ishmael, particularly about Ishmael, with regards to negotiating and giving up land. Because I want you to explain it in your words, but basically if Ishmael is only interested in complete control and not partial control, then there's no point giving them partial land, because that's not going to do it for them. Could you
Yes, so
express that?
yeah, we see also that the Lubavitcher Rebbe always opposed giving land. And when they say always Chabad, are they Zionists, are they pro the state, are they against the state, what's going on? But you see, this is not the discourse. It's about, this is a spiritual thing. It's about the destiny of Israel, the state of Israel, the people of Israel. Giving away land sends a message that completely contradicts who we are and what is our mission in the world. And it's a lie. First of all, it's not ours to give. That's one thing that we have to understand. An inheritance is not something that you can give. You inherited it, this is yours by the giver. The giver has decided that this is yours. So you have to say, I'm sorry, I would have given you. I like to share. My character is sharing is caring. If you're fighting, let's just split. But I'm not allowed. This is not mine to give. God gave it to me because this piece of land has been destined for a specific role, for a specific mission. And if I give it to you, this mission cannot be. So I'm not giving it to you because you will kill me afterwards and you will use the land to bring more weapons, and it's not a good security decision. I'm not bringing this to you because it's just, bringing it to you is a lie. I cannot do it, I'm not allowed to do it, it's just not yours. So I think we have to be just much more honest about who we are. Just, remove the Israel mask and put the Jewish mask.
Right. And also to understand that from the receiver's point of view, from Ishmael's point of view, from the Arab point of view, even if you give the land, that's not what they're going to satisfy them. It's not enough for them.
And they say it always. They say it, and we just don't listen. That's the thing. It's just really bad communication skills.
Right.
A person is saying, I'm going to kill you and every one of your kids, no matter what. And you're like, would you like to share maybe? I want everything. I want everything. And every centimeter. Yeah, but we gave you guys there's no listening, and it's like a denial of who they are. This is, in a way, October 7th was, I think, a really important time to show that when a person says, I'm going to kill you, he means it. You can't act like he doesn't mean it. Oh, you and your nonsense, you just speak, you just thread, this is just words. No, he means it, he really is going to do it. And according to Torah, if someone says, I'm going to kill you, you have to kill him. So that's something you have to consider. I'm not saying what should be done, but this is something, at least listen. So Torah says, if someone says, I'm going to kill you, it's important. It's not something to ignore.
Let's bring out this idea. You started your doctorate in Africa and looking at original peoples in their original lands. Tell us about the indigenousness of the Jewish nation in Israel. Tell us something about that.
So I'm an anthropologist, and when you study anthropology, the first what is really powerful now in the discourse of anthropology is really to talk about indigenous people, which is kind of like the original inhabitants of a certain land before it was conquered by other people. Of course, it's in many ways imagined, this idea. It's a romantic, kind of exotic idea because people have always moved and they've always conquered, and if you check a group of people, indigenous as they may seem, you will see that they have a history of immigration, a history of conquer. It's life. This is what we do on this globe. But there are groups we've been part of a place for a long time, and then another group came and conquered them, usually a European power, and then they kind of take over the lands, the resources, influence their culture, and there's kind of like a critical outlook at it in contemporary anthropology. And in that kind of equation, Israel is always portrayed as the European conquering power, and the Palestinians are portrayed as the indigenous. And then that's always what sets the framework for the narrative of how you explain everything in here, politics, everything. And it's interesting because you see, anti-Semitism always shapes itself according to what is trendy in thinking. So if it was actually trendy to be the conqueror, obviously we will be the indigenous. It's about what is trendy, what is the right side and what is the wrong side, and the Jew will be shaped into the wrong side no matter what. So right now, it's the wrong side to be the powerful one, the strong one, the conqueror, although for the rest of history, this was the good part to be. The Jew was the weak one, the stateless one, that's why he was hated. Now it's wrong to be powerful, it's wrong to be a conqueror, so now the Jew is the powerful and the conqueror. If you look a bit deeper into history, into Torah, into our ancestors, you realize, obviously, this is an archaeological, a spiritual, it's a fact. We are indigenous to this land. It's hilarious how we have to respond to things like people bringing out old shekels and saying this is a Palestinian shekel, and it's what is this? There was no Palestinian leader before Yasser Arafat. Before the 50s and 60s, there was no Palestinian identity, and yet there's this like crazy lie that continues to kind of grow and grow and grow, and we have to, I think, as anthropologists as well, we have to kind of put a boundary and say this is an indigenous people. One of the interesting things that Rabbi Manis teaches me and is in the book is that actually after the flood, when there was no there were no people on the land, the land was allocated, and Israel was given to Shem, and we are the descendants of Shem. So this is how indigenous we are, in a way where the original indigenous people, in a sense that we really didn't take the land from anyone. We didn't conquer it, because when it was fresh from the packaging, it was given to us. Right. And apparently when God says to Abraham that he should leave his country and go to Israel and conquer Israel again, what he's really saying is I'm restoring what was taken from Shem. Because Canaan conquered the land from Shem, and he renamed it to Canaan, the land of Canaan. So this was the first conquer, and when God sends Abraham, he says to Abraham, I want to bring back Israel. So
very good.
Yeah.
And just to just clarify this point, when did Palestine or Palestinians come into existence?
So historically we know we're talking about the 50s, the 60s, very late history. There is no Palestinian flag before, there's no coherent Palestinian identity. There is a piece of land that is named Palestine or Palestina by the British mandate, but you have Palestinian Jews as well. So there are Jews and Arabs living in Palestine. There isn't a Palestinian as a opposed to the Jew. That never happens. What happens is that the Palestinian identity really develops as a reaction, as a response to Israeli identity. So as Israel is founded, the Palestinian identity starts to develop. And what we explain in the book is that this actually has a Kabbalistic origin. Because what happens is the world is based on everything that is holy or has a potential for holiness or godliness will automatically create around it a shell that opposes it. Because the way creation world is, there's a balance between good and evil that creates the choice. So what happens is when Israel is born, a great potential for holiness, Palestinian is born, an opposition for that holiness, and the Palestinian identity is inspired and almost like an identity theft. It's completely phrasing itself according to the Jewish identity. So they're like the new Jew. They will say, we are the inheritance, Palestinian is the promised land, we missed that old time before we were conquered, and we are the victims of the situation. And they will build a narrative that is taken from us. So this is called Yenika, when the shell cannot define itself. The shell is always a lie in a way. The shell is not true, it's not emet. Emet is what is holy and what is eternal and what is godly. The shell is only there to hide it. So what it does, it has to use like the repository of the holiness in its own language. So you see that the Palestinian identity is really using Jewish language and narrative, but in a way that hides and contradicts the Jewish narrative. So I think it's a really interesting way to look at it, because it's just about, wow, this is about us claiming truth. This is about us choosing and making the world holy and godly with our actions. This is a really important message in the book, is that we shouldn't be praying for a miracle. We shouldn't be waiting for miracles. We should become the miracle. Because when a miracle happens, what's the chidush? God knows how to do amazing things. God knows to change the nature. God knows how to save us. That was always there. Geula begins when we become a beacon of light, when we behave as God wants us to behave, and so we become the miracle.
When we behave godly.
Yes, we should become godly, or we're already godly, we should just express the godliness within us. And when the godliness of Geula is not the godliness from above, the main godly light should be coming to the world through the Jews. This is our responsibility. God wishes that His light will be shown through us. So it is about us taking responsibility and knowing who we are and what we are meant to do and completing our mission, and just taking that extra step of understanding it's not about God saving us, redempting us, bring us Mashiach. This is about God is waiting for us to do our part.
Beautiful. I really want you to bring out what I found was really novel and innovative that I heard directly from Manis Friedman, and that is the role of the Jew and the nation of Israel vis-a-vis, why didn't you become our friends? Why didn't you accept us? Can you talk to us a little bit more about that and his suggestion that about the classroom and the teacher and the.
So let's take the UN as an example. The UN is a place that really doesn't like us and discriminates us and patronizes us, and there's so much lies there and corruption and what the way we respond to it is like, yeah, but why didn't you tell him as well? But he also did that, and like something very weak, very like, please accept me, please recognize me, please stop discriminating me, and we want your approval.
From a victim point of view.
Yeah.
This is if we're a victim.
like the unpopular kid at school that wants to be accepted, and we kind of like, we want that acceptance. Please see us as part of the members of the nations. Please accept us into that club. We just want to be part of the club. Can't you see how good we are? And that creates sort of like more despise and more arrogance towards us.
Why does that?
So that's because deep down, the nations are waiting for us to be who we really are. Because this is a lie. This is not who we are. We are not part of the world. And the song, "We Are the World," we are not the world. So Rabbi Manis says that it's a true song. All the nations are the world. But Bob Dylan is there. He shouldn't be there. You see the video, you actually see he looks very bored and unimpressed. He's not the world. We can't think that we are the world, because this is not true. So we have to be above the world. We came from before the world. We perceive the world. We came to make the world godly. So by taking a point of influence, shifting the relations, we are here to teach you. We can basically convert the dynamics there. And then the UN can become a classroom, because this is a place where all the nations are sit down and they can listen to us. But it's about what we say when the mic is. So every few years something happens in Israel, and the whole global media and the world attention is on us. Mm-hmm. Why is it? There's so many other conflicts happening right now. God is actually putting the attention to us. He's giving us the mic, and He's waiting for us to use that momentum and the opportunity to speak out the correct voice. Maybe I can read a part from the part about the UN. So this is actually from a speech given by Ariel Sharon in the UN. And it's a very interesting speech, because something happens to him. The way he phrases things there is something that we should take inspiration from. So at the UN's 60th anniversary, former Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon came to give a speech. He spoke like a wise grandfather speaking to his children. "I arrived to you from Jerusalem, Israel's eternal capital for over 3,000 years," he said. "I stand before you at the gate of nations as a Jew, a representative of an ancient people." Unabashedly expressing his Jewish pride, he went on to say, "The Jewish people have a long memory, originating with our father Abraham and continuing with the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai." Actually said that. The substantive reminder of his speech may be debated. So the rest of it, if you remember, this speech was very sad speech, because that's where he speaks about the Itnatkut, but that voice, the way what he brought there, who he was to them, this was a moment from which we should all take inspiration. Sharon restored the relationship between the Jews and the nations to its natural order. We are the grandfather of the world. If proud Jews were the teachers and the world the classroom, the UN would be a perfect platform for disseminating messages of holiness, truth, and justice.
Beautiful. So now let's turn towards how we have to react, or how we have to rise above to deal with this problem that we have with the animosity, the Arab animosity that we're getting at the moment. You had a very interesting phrase in the book where you said when we go to war, we have to go above our enemies as opposed to go against our enemies. Mm-hmm. Can you say a little bit about that as well?
So I think the soldiers today, God bless them, they are really on that very high consciousness. They behave like soldiers of Joshua, or completely, and doesn't matter religious, secular. I want my tzitzit, on my tefillin, Tehillim, Torah scrolls on their tanks. They are not regular soldiers. Something is incredibly powerful in what they bring. They know who they are. and they know their mission, and they're completely giving up to what God is. So this is B'tzirut Nefesh. It's an amazing thing, and they are way above their enemies. Their moral attitude, of course, we don't even need to. I once saw, you won't believe this. It's a PhD in Tel Aviv University in the anthropology department. How statistically, the IDF is the army that has no cases of rape towards the women in the nation that he conquers.
Wow.
This PhD was claiming this is a result of racism. So there is no rape because of a sense of disgust that doesn't exist in other conquering people. But this is the point. Morality for soldiers, if you look clearly, is they're so, you see them, they bring in water, they take care of the kids. Morality is there, holiness is there, confidence is there, the power is there. If we'll allow the IDF to be who he is and allow our soldiers to do what they know, I think a great victory can happen. The problem is the external forces, politics, and the fact that we're not a sovereignty. This is another thing in the book. We have a chapter about sovereignty, the fact that we are playing according to someone else's rules. So America would say and determine how much, when to stop, when to start, what is proportionate, what is disproportionate. So by releasing ourselves from other people imposing their external Western morals and ideas and kind of really sabotaging how we should fight this, and by allowing the soldiers to do what they know, this can be a victory. It's only the external forces that are
yeah, at this point, I'd love to give a prayer that Hashem protects us from the leaders who become spokespersons to foreign agendas. You hear an Israeli politician standing up and speaking, and you can see like a microphone coming from the from America. It's almost a sound piece of America. So may we have the ability to be sovereign and to have the pride in sticking to the principles that we were brought up to live to.
Amen. I want to tell you a story. I just this morning I saw a video of Netanyahu when he was 28 years old. He's in America. He's giving a speech there. And he's saying, you Americans should really support us because this is in your benefit. We are your branch in the Middle East. We are your true ally in the Middle East. You can really use us. It's really kind of, the way he's legitimizing us is by being a tool for them.
Right.
And it seemed like, please help us, fund us, because we're going to be of help to you. So the idea is understanding that our mission is not to be the helper of anyone else. Our mission is not to be a tool in a bigger game of any other empire. We have our own mission, we have our own identity, and we have to start living it up. Mm-hmm. So actually, I have a student, I have two students who have children who are kidnapped in Gaza. Really? I realized this after October 7th. They contacted me, and they're part of the community. They study with Rabbi Manis, they study with me. So one of them, her name is Merav. Her daughter is in Gaza. She was a soldier. She was one of the only female soldiers who were kidnapped from the base. And she's going to our lessons, and she read also our first book, I Didn't Ask to Be Born. And instead of, sitting all day and just weeping over her daughter, she is living her mission in such an inspiring way. And she met Netanyahu and Sarah, and she told them, you were put on this earth for a mission. You didn't ask to come here. You were brought here because you have a godly mission, because God is waiting for you to be the leaders of the Jewish people and support him. And I was it was so amazing to think of. For me, those women are like, you think of Dvorah Nevi'ah or Miriam Nevi'ah. This is the level of faith. You have your kids are in Gaza, and you go around Israel speaking to politicians, speaking to people, speaking to the prime minister, and reminding him who he is and what is his true mission.
It's unbelievable. It's like the children bringing the parents back to tshuva. But I have to bring in this concept that one of our teachers, Chaim David Targan, mentioned, and that is that as the empire of America is falling, they've taken the crown off the head of America. But it's about to be put onto Israel's head, but Israel has to have the confidence to take that crown and put it on our head. We have to have the confidence to see ourselves as that inspiring country to guide and lead the world to a better place. So B'ezrat Hashem will take that on. But let's look at the how we have to behave now with the Arabs. And I wanted you to bring out this idea. What happens you said this mashal that if we are the teacher and we want to teach the world. So what happens if you have a child that is disruptive in the class? How do you deal with that child? Could you talk about that? I mean, because that's the parallel that we have here.
So, first thing is that we always talk about peace. We want peace. I grew up in schools that were, it was all about singing songs of peace, drawing the two flags together, people holding hands. We love peace and friendship and harmony. But peace is actually a second stage. There's a stage before. When someone says, I want to kill you, I hate you, a respect has to be a condition for peace. Respect is a condition. Respect is also a condition for love. In the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says, the beginning of the work is yirah, not ahava. Because when you don't have respect, you cannot really love. When you don't have limitations. So it's not about gaining peace. It's about gaining respect. And gaining respect is by making it very, very clear that it's not tolerable and it's unaccepted and it's not worth it for even one stone to be picked up and thrown at you. Not to say the worst things and atrocities that are happening. So it's our response that should be much more fierce. That's another thing. What is a proportionate response? So everyone says, Israel is allowed to defend itself, but proportionately. So what is this proportion? Does that mean, oh wait, how many people they killed? Okay, this is the amount of people we have to. How many people they raped? Okay, we're going to rape this amount of people. Is this proportionate? This is completely immoral. We cannot, this makes the death of those people in vain. It's completely useless. It's a waste of life, a waste of energy. So what is a proportionate response? According to Torah, a response that restores the respect and the fear in a way that promises security for at least 40 years. If you promised security and you made sure that it's not worth it to kill more Jews and to harm more Jewish life, this was proportionate. What is disproportionate? After you have achieved this, if you kill even one more person, or you hurt one more person beyond what is needed for that stability and security, that's disproportionate. So, if what it takes to have that stability is killing one person, that's fine. That's what you kill. If you have to kill much more than one person, that's what you have to do. But if you kill even one person beyond what was needed, that's disproportionate. So that's a good way to look at it. We need to restore our power, our fierceness, to restore the respect towards us, to make it very, very clear that it's not acceptable to harm us, and by that to create that will be a proportionate response.
When you're talking, I'm listening to the response of Levi and Shimon to Dinah being raped. There was zero tolerance, and you're suggesting that we should have zero tolerance for any terrorist activity against us. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. When you read that story, you really say, what has happened to us? Like, in a way, okay, in a way we're better, because we read that and we're like, whoa, this is what have they done? This is unacceptable. Okay, so we're much more moral, we have more edelkeit, more gentle, we're more aware of who we should be and how we should be presented. But on the other hand, you see such clarity and strong ideals that even one woman was raped, the response should be so harsh that it's unacceptable. This is not going to even come to mind to do something like this again.
It's very interesting that the answers of the children to Yaakov was, is this what should be done to a Jewish woman? To a Jewish woman? That can't be to them. Okay, so let's move on to really what you see as the solution here into the conflict of post 7th of October. Because we can't eliminate the fact that there are these 2 million Palestinians that are living in Gaza. So what is your and Manis Friedman's solution to this very real problem?
So first of all, it's about restoring respect and regaining power, and really letting the army do its job without any interference and without considering public opinion and trying to please other people's values, and really taking on what needs to be done. The second thing is to tell who we are constantly. It's about education. The anti-Semitism of today is ignorance. So it's a void that we're living things empty, and in that emptiness all the horrible things happen. So we have to really educate about who we are. And I don't know, I'm not a military person, I'm not a politician, but I do know that the faith in the Arab world is very, very strong. And they're God-fearing in a way, but they just don't know who is God, and they don't know what He wants, and they don't understand. A lot of them are becoming more aware of the fact that their version of God can't be right. Christians, Muslims, it's become apparent to people that the religions have not done a very good job throughout the years in describing God. The religions are horrible. So they are waiting to hear something else, but they're not hearing anything from us. If they will hear the right things and will be convinced, because we have the tools to tell them, they will join us. That's what we need to hope. That they will be the ones who say, let's build a temple then. Oh, so this is how it is? Okay, so we have to take part. And the thing is, we see that opinions can change very quickly. People who were protesting in North Tel Aviv, in Tel Aviv, they were protesting about one thing. The next day, they were protesting about another thing, because really what we see outside is energy being expressed according to the language that is available to me. I have an energy. I want to come out to the streets and yell that I want a better world. What can I yell about? Okay, there's some sort of a chapter changed in the high court that no one will even know if it wasn't. No one will even understand its meaning. But I want to change the world, so I'm going to take this is what I'm going to chant on it. In the campuses in America, people are screaming because they want a better world. But the media says Israel is conquering Palestine, they're killing Palestine. Let's go. People are not satisfied just sitting and watching movies anymore and eating popcorn, and that's a good sign. People want something new, something else.
They want purpose.
But they want a purpose, they want a better world. And it can change just like this. You just have to give them a new, because those protesters in Tel Aviv, the day after October 7th, the topic completely changed. Now it's about saving the hostages. We can debate whether it's coming from the right reasons or if it's correct, but it it is a much more noble idea to fight for, because you offer them a better purpose, they take it on. So offer them a better purpose. That's what we say. Offer the Arabs, offer the anti-Semitism a vision that they can connect to, that they can relate to, and the energy just needs to be channeled somewhere else.
Let's imagine I brought in, a couple of residents of Gaza here to debate you. How would you inspire them to see a different vision? What would you say to them?
It will have to be really Torah talk. It will have to be talking to them in their own. They speak Torah, they speak God, they speak religion. You speak democracy, you lost them. So it's one thing when I was researching in Ghana, in West Africa, I was going to ask them about digital technologies, middle class, housing, their professions, their education, and they wanted to talk about God. I was like, yeah, but you see, my research proposal is not about religion. I'm not studying. It's like, what are you talking about? We want to talk about God. We want to talk about Israel. We want to talk about Satan. Explain to us what does the Jewish people say about Jesus? What do the Jewish people say about Satan? What do the Jewish people? We want to learn. So I was shocked, and I also realized I don't have the answers. I went back home. I couldn't be there anymore, and I took like a few months, and I just studied. And in the second time I came back, it was like, okay, what do you want to talk about? And we just spoke about this, and it was much easier to communicate with them. I got the other information as well, but you have to communicate with them according to their point of interest. So faith, godliness, Torah, that has to be our topic, definitely.
Okay. I want to give a chance to...
outside of Amazon, where locally can we purchase this book?
Okay, so I have a few copies here, but this is not distributed yet in the shop, so you can contact me, and we have a Hebrew version, an English version, and we're printing it like independently here, and you can purchase it through.
Okay.
So in the last few minutes...
Also, is there an English version of I Didn't Ask to Be Born?
Not yet. We're looking for a translator.
Okay.
So in the last few minutes, I'd love to open
one question
questions.
Across my mind is that you said you have to give the Muslims or the Arabs a certain goal, but now the goal is to destroy Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a very tough one, because that is what reunites them.
So that has to be, first of all, unacceptable.
Yeah. Of course.
It's not.
But
It has to be that it doesn't pay off to hurt a Jew. Like the damage, you have to find what can you take from them that will make the consequences worse than doing it. And they're not scared.
And do you know what?
They're not scared even of death.
They're not.
So
what can you take?
You have to come up with. You have to find something. Maybe you have
pig's blood. That's what the British used when they were here.
That's a good idea. You have to find their sensitive spot, and you have to be completely fearless and saying, I want to, if you do this, I'm going to do the thing you're scared of the most. What are you scared of the most? You're not scared of death? Okay. So I have to find something else. But you have to make it really lo mishtalem. It doesn't pay off. It doesn't pay off to do that. That's one thing. And then there will be respect, and they will be available. You know, my grandparents, they say after Milchemet Sheshet Hayamim, my father always says that an Arab used to cross to the other side of the street when he saw a Jew, because he had so much respect and fear, and sometimes even between parents and children, this is not something that I'm saying out of hatred. Fear is essential sometimes to restore a healthy relationship.
Right.
But it's very difficult, especially in this time, because it's completely backed up by the UN and all. So
we have a very difficult mission. Very.
And the UN is losing all its credibility, whatever it had.
Any other questions?
A comment about not eliminating more of the enemy than you absolutely have to. I think that's a pretty tough thing to define. And if they've already tried to kill you, by halakha, you're supposed to eliminate them. So So that would include all of Hamas and all of Hezbollah.
So what is, for example, of course, we're not talking about someone who said he's going to kill you. We're talking about civilians.
Yeah.
So for what is a
Oh.
civilian? That's another thing we redefine. So is a civilian someone that doesn't have the uniform? Like if a woman cooks food for the soldiers, she's a civilian or she's a soldier? If a woman brings babies so that they will become soldiers, is she a civilian? So the line between a civilian and a soldier cannot be uniforms. It cannot be if you're holding a weapon or not. This is crazy. So it is not our responsibility to discriminate between them. But if someone says, I surrender, I don't want to kill you, I accept you. It's something that happens in wars. It used to be a common thing. A person said, hello, I don't want to kill you, I surrender. What do you want? I'm with you. That person you shouldn't kill. You're not supposed to kill.
How do you fight their educational system that teaches lies and hatred?
From elementary school. Oh,
First of all, we allow it, so we cannot. We're just gonna let it. It's like weeds that you let them grow, and so it's not easy to enter it and to. But we have to set alternatives, and we have to really be aware of the damage that it creates, and just. I come here to Tzfat, and it's so harmonious and spiritual, and it's really a little paradise, and I have to go back today, and I don't want to go back. But on the other hand, there's a world, it needs fixing, it's not going to fix itself. Anyone that lives here, that sits here, he knows Torah, he knows Judaism, he has a responsibility. And that's why I always tell the young people here, you really shouldn't be here too long. You should find a way to live up your mission, because hiding away from the world, it will make you a better, maybe, spiritual person. It will benefit you spiritually. You block your phone, you block your internet, you block your eyes, you block your ears. You will be spiritually protected, but the world will remain the same and become worse. The world is not going to fix itself. God relies on us to fix the world. God is not going to fix the world for us, because there's no point in that. There's no chiddush. We have to be the miracle.
So it's a beautiful way to end. But is there anything that you?
Yeah, there was one thing I just remember, because at the end of the time there's also Erev Rav, and that's so we have to conquer. What you say it looks very good and it's very serious, but how do we deal then with the Erev Rav? Because like a lot of is financed from indirectly from within.
Yeah.
So that's you didn't mention that.
We don't know who they are. So because we don't know, when someone in your family is really annoying and sees everything different from you, the easiest thing to say, oh, you're probably not my brother. It could be that he is your brother. He's a Jew. He's just such a Jew that he wants to fight with you as well. But it's too easy to say, oh, they're Erev Rav. I'm allowed to hate them. I'm allowed to discredit them. You don't know who they are. They are Jews. But they're fighting with you. They don't agree with you. So talk it out. He's your brother.
Because according to the Zohar, as far as my knowledge goes, and it's not so very deep, but anyway, it says that 80% in the end times is Erev Rav. So it's very difficult to that you go that you have the right path.
So when I study the Zohar, it's usually through the channel of Chassidus, which is meant to kind of bring the Zohar to our understanding. I never, for example, see the Lubavitcher Rebbe talking about Erev Rav. Never. Because the idea, even if it's an Erev Rav or a Goy or anyone else, by educating them, by giving them a sense of purpose and a vision and speaking truth, whether they are Erev Rav or not, they will change their mind. But if you see a Jew, even if he's really annoying and really thinks differently to you, and you remember, yeah, but he's a Jew just like me, and you speak to him that way, it will be much easier. And I know my story. I know where I was, what I thought, who I voted for, what was my perception. So I'm a proof. I could have been defined as Erev Rav by someone. I don't know, maybe. Maybe what if someone said, oh, is that Elad? There's no point in teaching him, there's no point in loving him, there's no point in accepting him into the minyan. But it's by seeing me as part of you, as one with you, that I am here today. And it shouldn't be in condition to how I behave and what I shout in the street. Doesn't matter.
So I just wanted to give a plug for this book. It's a really excellent read. And you can get it through us. If you contact Alshech Academy, we'll put you in touch with Elad, and he'll get you a copy. But tell us, as we conclude, if somebody is not able to read this, and you would like to give them one key message to take with them, what would it be?
Mashiach is coming. We are in the midst of a process. Open your eyes and see the process. He's coming. You want to take part in it. You want to feel like you participated. When he comes, you don't want to be like, oh, okay, so he came. I just waited. You want to be like, wow, look, you remember what we did to bring you? Like, take part. Really take part. It's amazing. You will see amazing things. You will bring out things in yourself that you won't believe. And just know, the good ending will come, but you want to be involved in that process, because that's the moment to really grab. Yeah.
Be who we are, Hazak.
Yes.
Elad, thank you so much for sharing this beautiful ideas with us, and wish you lots of luck.
Thank you.
And please carry on writing. We love to keep in touch with where you are at the moment.
Thank you so much for hosting me and reading the book. And thank you.
Thank you so much.